What's going on, guys? Welcome to my first video in this YouTube channel. Hopefully you guys can tune in. And basically this channel is about IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. And if you guys are interested in getting into this field, or you guys just curious to see what's going on, or if you're trying to get into it and you want to learn how to do different stuff, I will basically be here to try myself, right? Train myself, because I'm currently not in IAM yet. I am still in IT. I'm an IT help desk support engineer. Whatever you guys want to say, help desk, whatever, it's the same thing. But my end goal is to become an IAM analyst, more into the engineer side. So this video, I'll be showing you guys one of my projects that I'm basically creating with this YouTube video, and it will be a 7-day project where I basically do one task on day 1, and then day 2 another task, and then the line keeps going, and then on the 7th day I'll be ending my project. But everything will be recorded in this just one video. So I basically did this channel because I've seen that there's a lot of resources in the IAM field. I've seen a lot of blue team stuff, penetration testing stuff, GRC stuff, but I haven't seen really a big resources, right? I haven't seen a lot of resources inside IAM. So hopefully you guys can come up with me. You guys can give me some ideas of what I can do. And this is not me just trying to teach you guys, but this is me trying to learn as well. I'm trying to become better with my speaking, with my presentation, right? So hopefully this helps me out. And yeah, let's keep going with this video. I'll be sharing my screen, showing my tenant, and basically what we're gonna do first is we're gonna edit our tenant. Will be basically including 20 new contractors, specifically cybersecurity contractors with different roles, and we'll be including that in the tenant from a CSV file, doing IAM automation inside PowerShell with Microsoft Graph. So I'll see you guys on my screen. So as you guys can see, I have here my screen showing my tenant, my Microsoft Entra Admin Center tenant screen. And I have my day 1 joiner script and my day 1 cybersecurity contractor CSV file that will be basically importing these users from the CSV file to my tenant. So as you guys can see, I'm a Mac user, so it might seem a little different from you guys from an Excel sheet, but this is my CSV file. And as you guys can see, I've included 20 users, right, with different names, last name, first name, last name, job title. And as you guys can see, they have different job titles, right? Different roles. As you guys can see, IAM, SOC, penetration tester, whatever. And then there's speciality, right? We can see privileged access management for the IAM engineer, right? We can see the GRC analyst with the NIST and ISO 27001 speciality, right? And these other things, whatever, doesn't really matter too much, but as you guys can see, it's basically showing the different type of users that you guys will include in your tenant. So another thing that I want to point out, the department, cybersecurity contractors, is basically the same for all of them. So we'll basically be creating a dynamic user group on Entra, and then once we run the script, all the users that has the cybersecurity contractor department will be added to this group, because I'll be creating a role which pulls all these users into this group. So I have other type of attributes, as you guys can see, and yeah, these doesn't really matter too much. You can leverage AI to build you guys a CSV file, so you guys can take a look at it, see what's going on, and you guys can basically edit out. You guys can also edit the attributes if you guys want, but this is like the closest thing so far that I've seen on my job, on my daily job, the attributes, all of these things. So I basically use a lot of Azure and Entra for my job, so I see all of these type of different attributes. So I made sure to include these type of things. So this is my CSV file, and then I'll be going for the script now. So as we can see, we're inside the PowerShare script that I've edited, that I had to correct a lot of stuff because it wasn't running correctly, but now hopefully the script will run smoothly. But you can obviously leverage AI to create you a script, but make sure that you understand what's going on with the script, and if something goes wrong, you can point it out and see what's going on and correct the mistake. So I would highly suggest that you guys understand what's happening to the script and understand and be able to edit if something goes wrong. So let's take a quick look at it, and I'll just go through it really quick for you guys. So this is the introduction of the script, right? So you guys can see it's just the intro, is just the title, right? IAM 7-day project, day 1, join the script. We'll basically bulk onboarding 20 cybersecurity contractor identities into Entra. So first things is the configuration. As you guys can see, my tenant ID number, right? Whatever, my primary domain, right? All these things, so it can connect to my tenant and use my primary domain to log in with to edit the users, right? And then my CSV path, so it will take me to the cybersecurity contractors joiner CSV file, and then the default password will basically give all the users this password, this temporary password. But once they log into their accounts with the password, they will be forced to change their password once they log in for the first time. So pretty interesting. So the script, the first thing that we'll do is connect to Microsoft Graph, which is this command right here. We'll connect to MG Graph, and then you'll basically give all the scopes that you want. So basically all the permissions that you wanna have, so you can run this script, and you can basically do whatever you want. And since I'm a global admin, because I created a tenant, obviously, and global admin is the top dog, is the best, it's the role, it's the role that has the most permissions, and basically all of the permissions. So as you guys can see, I would highly suggest that you guys understand what are each permission, and understand the other ones as well. So another thing that's pretty important, the right host. I think it's really important for your script, because once you run the script, the right host will show, connecting to Microsoft Graph. It will show you like the steps that it's currently taking in order to run the script. And if there's something that's going on, you can also include a right host. Created user failed, right? Or created user successful creation, right? Whatever. But this is really good that you guys can include right hosts on your script. And then import CSV, right? So basically it basically reads all your CSV file, all your users, and then turn into PowerShell roles, right? And then it will basically put all the users in a row so it can create for you. And then we have the verify, retrieve the dynamic group. So this basically checks if cybersecurity contractors groups actually exist, and if it doesn't exist, it will create it automatically. But I will create myself manually, so you guys can see how it works inside Entra, and it's a pretty easy step so that we can do, right? But here are the details of the group, but I will be creating that on my tenant ID. So as you guys can see, right host, dynamic group created, but if it's already created, dynamic group found. So pretty interesting so far. Main loop, create users. So basically this is the core, right? The foundation for each user check. So basically it creates the group inside Entra, and then if it doesn't exist, it will basically create the user. Same process as it goes with the groups, but since we don't have the users, it will create on the script. So and then as you guys can see, these are all the attributes, right, that the user will have, that I've included on the CSV file. And then this is the part where it creates the group, and I will highly suggest that you guys understand a little bit more about the script. And then the summary, as you guys can see, I have all these informations right here, right? It says created or skipped or failed, so it will give you the right hosts, right? If it was created, it will give me a green color. If it skipped, it will give me a yellow color. But if it failed, it will give me a red color. It will show failed, right? And then what else? Let me move my face. And then yeah, so basically that's pretty much it. We also have the disconnection. Where is it? Oh, we basically disconnect from the Microsoft Graph because it will be already created and completed. So yeah, so let's try to run the script really quick. So once I run the script, you guys will see that let me minimize this tab, that my script will ask me to log into Microsoft Entra, right? Because it will actually authenticate if I'm the actual person who is running the script. So as you guys can see, authentication complete. And then let's see what's happening on the PowerShell script. So as you guys can see, it's running and the users are being created and everything is just getting green and green and green, and everything just worked really smoothly. So I will pull my face here and then as you guys can see, the summary: created 20 users, skipped none, failed none, and then the total of the users that were created were 20. So as you guys can see, the users were created successfully, right? So let's terminate our PowerShell, and then let me pull my face right here, and then here's my tenant, right? As you guys can see, I will open the users tab, and then let me open the CSV file really quick, and then let's search for Marcus Reyes, right? Because he's one of the users that are included. So as you guys can see, Marcus is included, so probably all of the other users were included as well. So let's check the properties, right? Let's see if everything is correctly, if all the attributes were correctly synchronized. So as you guys can see, company name, right? It's a contractor company, whatever. The job title, identity and access management engineer, and the employee type is a contractor, department cybersecurity contractors, and these other types of attributes that you will usually see for a user inside Entra. So I forgot to create the group, but what we can do for this video, I can basically create a group for only, I would say, IAM users, so you guys can see what's going on and how the users that has the job title IAM get pulled to a specific group for IAM engineers. So as you guys can see, we have Marcus Reyes created. So let's take a look at the group that was created automatically from the script. So as you guys can see, cybersecurity contractors, and then let's see the members. So all the members that were in the script are inside this group. And then let's search for Marcus. As you guys can see, Marcus is right here. So let me show you guys. Let me try to create another group only for the IAM engineering, IAM people, IAM users, and then I will use different roles to pull these users to these other groups. So let's see how does that work. And yep. So here in the groups tab, we can select all groups or whatever. We can just create a new group here, and then we're gonna basically create a group for the IAM staff, I would say, right? The IAM people. So group for the IAM users, right? So basically our group name will be IAM staff, group for the IAM users. So this group, the membership type, we will select dynamic user, so we can include a dynamic membership role, which basically we're gonna select properties and the operator in the value. So what do I mean by this is if I select property and if I choose, let's say, where's job title right here, and then we can select equals, or let's do equals first, right? And then we can basically come here and then get the job title from Marcus, which is Identity and Access Management Engineer, and then we can just add it to the rule syntax right here, as you guys can see. And then let's say we want to add another IAM personnel that has another IAM job title, and then we can select, right, it's already here, and another job title that equals, let's select another one from the CSV file. Let's get the CSV file really quick, and then let's get a IAM Solutions Architect, and then add value. So we add it, and then let's say we're gonna choose another one, because I saw there was another one, job title, and then equals, what's the other one? Identity governance analyst. So this is an IAM analyst. So oops, forgot the I. Okay, so now we can save it, right? And then we can hit create, because we're going to create the group, and then let's do refresh really quick, and as we can see, the group has been created right here. The members, they will take a little bit of time for them to load, but with that I can also show you another dynamic membership rule that we can include, right? So we can press we can do or, right? Because there's two options, right? It's and or, so we can choose or. I'm just showing you guys other options that you guys can use for attributes, right? So we can do or, let's get the job title again, choose an operator, starts with, instead of equal, we can do starts with, where is it? Man, what is it? Starts with IAM, right? We can do that, and then we can add another one saying or, choose job title, starts with identity, right? Because there's another identity here, so we can do that too, which basically will pulling all the users that has that starts with IAM, that has a job title starting with IAM or identity. So all the users that have these type of properties, right, these type of job titles, they will be included inside this group. So we can hit save one more time, and then we can hit the X button, and then hopefully the users can be included. Right now it takes a little bit of time. You might have to hit refresh sometimes and then wait for a bit. I'm gonna speed the process really quick, and once it refreshes, once it gets included, I'll be back with you guys. So after, I would say, 3 minutes, as you guys can see, the users were included in the group. They were not included, they were not assigned manually, they were assigned dynamically with the rules right here. So as you guys can see, and I really wanted to show you guys the audit logs really quick, so you guys can see that the users were included dynamically. So as you can see, the logs right here, add member to group. So let's take a look at the information right here. So target, this user was included to the group because of these properties, as you guys can see. Group display, IAM staff, right? So Jordan was included in the group because of his value, right? So if we go to another one and take a look at it really quick, Priya was also included on the group because of the properties, right, of the attributes. And then we can go to each profile really quick, so you guys can take a look of the users that were included. So let's take a look at Priya, see the properties really quick, and her job title is IAM Solutions Architect, right? And then let's go back to the IAM staff group really quick, and then let's select another user. As you guys can see, Marcus Reyes, he's the engineer, but let's take a look at Jordan. His properties, and he's an identity governance analyst, which is an IAM analyst. So this is basically the first part that I was talking about for this video. And I also wanted to share really quick with you guys the overall audit logs, like the tenant-wide audit logs. So I want to quickly share to you guys like the groups being, like the users being created, right? So as you guys can see, there was a bulk of users being added to a group, right? So as you can see, we can get a log right here, and then target, right? This user was included to the cybersecurity contractors group, right? And then we can see add users and update users, right? So as you can click at this audit log, you can see this user was integrated, and then you can see all the properties, right, from the user, and everything is over here, all the information. So it's really good that you guys can take a look at these logs, especially like these two main logs, like the audit logs, to see what's happening, what are the changes that are happening in your current directory, in your current tenant. And the sign-in logs are also really important, so you can see all the sign-in logs from users, and then you can possibly detect a brute force attempt. So I highly suggest that you guys understand a little bit more about these logs and do a bunch of labbings, right? You can add some filters, right? User principal name. Let's do something like admin. I don't know if I have an admin, but I don't have any admin. But yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff here with the logs. Just take a look at it, be familiar with it, and your job as an analyst is to watch logs and see pattern, see things that are not usually normal inside your tenant. So let's go to the other part of the video. So the second part that I want to show you guys is how do we give roles, right? How do we give owners or assignments to users, right, inside the Entra tenant? So we can come back here to the Entra admin center, and let's say we want to add a group owner to our cybersecurity contractors group, right? So we go to user groups, and then we find our group that we want to assign an owner, and then as we can see owners here, and then we can add an owner, right? So let's say we want to add a random user as the owner. Let's say myself, right? I'm the owner, right? My account is the owner of this group, and it usually takes some time. Nope, it's right here. I'm already an owner of the group, so I can basically manage everything in this group. I can reset passwords, create policies, anything else that I can do with this group. I can delete users from this group, right? I could have done it before, but because I'm a global admin, so I can control everything. But if a user is not a global admin, but he's an owner of the group, he has all these permissions inside the group. So pretty interesting so far, but that's not the main thing that I want to show you guys. As you guys can see on the right side of the screen, I have other two scripts. I will be just using this one because this script is basically assigning roles to the new contractors. And yeah, I will show you guys eventually, but I also want to show you guys that you guys can manage a group or a specific type of users inside a container, which is the administrative unit, which you can create one, And then basically an administrator unit is a container with objects, right, inside a Microsoft Entra that allows administrators to delegate permissions to a specific container, which is the administrative unit that you will create, that you can control users, groups, or devices only inside that container, not tenant wide. So I can basically create an administrative unit, right? Let's say I want to create a random one, whatever, and then I can assign roles to this administrative unit, right? But I'm not going to do this yet. I'm just going to create it really quick. And then inside this administrative unit, I can add a random member. Let's say I want to add this guy, right? Oh, let me try it one more time. Okay, we just added a random user to the administrative unit, and then what we can do is add a role. Let's give whatever role, right? And then we can add assignments, and then we can select the member that's inside the administrative unit, and then we can click next, and then just assign the user. And I will show you guys all these settings, all these configurations, because this is PIM, and I will talk about that later. But that's not what the main focus of the administrative unit is about. So the administrative unit, I will assign a role to this person inside this container, and he can only use that role inside the container. He cannot control anything else on tenant wide unless the administrative unit is deleted. But the good thing about administrative units is that it enforces the least privilege. So I can give him a really privileged role inside the administrative unit, and he will only have this role, this privilege inside the administrative unit. And that's basically enforcing least privilege, making sure that he doesn't control the whole tenant, and that could be really dangerous. So keep that in mind. You guys can create administrative units and then manage whatever you guys want to do inside of it. But you guys gotta keep in mind that some of the roles are not qualified for administrative units, because some of them are qualified only for basically tenant wide. And just keep that in mind, and I will show you guys the script really quick on how to run it. You can take a look at it, right? So basically day 2, this is the second day that I'm doing this project, and obviously you guys can leverage AI to create the script for you, but you make your own adjustments, right? So you can basically edit the script. So let's say you wanna, for the IAM people, you give a certain type of roles, right? You can give help desk administrator, security reader, which help desk administrator basically resetting passwords, right? He doesn't have too many privileges, but he's a really privileged, I would say, role inside Microsoft Entra. So security reader is basically, he can read every sign-in log, audit log inside a tenant. And I think that the administrative unit does not allow this this role, because it's basically tenant wide. But as you guys can see, I have the socks, which basically have all of these roles, right? Security reader, which they'll only analyze it, so it makes total sense that I would include that. And this might be an administrator, so security administrator, right? All of these different types of roles in cloud security, so it would make sense to add cloud app security administrator, right? And yeah, basically that's pretty much it, the script, right? It's just assigning these roles, right? And then we'll connect to Microsoft Graph, and then you guys will see all of the process. As you can see, I was basically doing the script already. I was troubleshooting some of the stuff, but the last time I tried, everything went smoothly. So let's do it one more time, and then let's do the script so you guys can understand. It will ask me to log into my tenant, and then as you guys can see, it worked out. And then let's go back to the script, and as you guys can see, the right hosts are working fine. So it's just showing assigned this role for this user, and it keeps going and going and going. And then as you guys can see, the summary assigned 29 roles. None of them failed, none of them were skipped. So this is a really good thing to have, so you guys can take a look and analyze yourselves to see if your script worked really well. So now we can basically just take a look, right, at a random user that we assigned, specifically obviously inside the contractors group. Let's take a look at it, and for example, let's see Alexi. Let's see the properties, job information. I think job information. Wait, I want to see what's her job. Okay, she's a penetration tester, right? And then her role, we're gonna check right here, assign roles. So as you guys can see, he has an active security reader role, right? But since she's a penetration tester, she will not have any type of how can I say, she won't have any type of privileged roles, because that will be an advantage that she would have because because she's a penetration tester. So she has to try her best to basically get inside without being privileged, right? So that makes total sense. But as you guys can see, security reader was assigned to her. Now the other part that I want to show you guys is basically PIM. And what's PIM, right? PIM stands for Privilege and Identity Management, which is a premium governance feature in Microsoft Entra that basically provides temporary, or as you guys can say, JIT, right, just-in-time access to privileged roles. So basically, you can activate a role for a user for a certain period of time, right, so that the user doesn't have the role permanently, and it enforces least privilege, right? So basically, when you assign a role, you can configure that role, and I will show you guys that really quick. As you guys can see, it's under ID governance, right? And let's say I want to assign, right, a role to a user. So I'll go to here at Microsoft Entra roles, and then assign eligibility, and then we can click add assignments, right? And then here we can select any role. So let's say Marcus is our IAM engineer, right? So what type of role we can give it to him? So we can probably give him like the privileged role administrator, because he controls basically so the privileged role administrator controls PIM overall and controls all the roles inside the Microsoft Entra tenant. So he will have basically this role, so he can control and see and engineer and edit and see which users have the most and have the highest privileges, so he can analyze that. So we selected that role, and then we can select Marcus. Let's see if we can type his name correctly. So I would say like global admin is like the top dog, right? Is the role that has the most privileges, right? You can control a whole tenant just with global admin and a P2 license. And I would say like privileged admin role administrator would be right here, right? Because he cannot control any everything tenant wide, but he can control roles and assignments and identity governance policies. He can do all that type of stuff. He can control groups, he can control users, right? So we can basically see the description, and I will take you guys. But let's assign Marcus as a privileged role administrator, and then we can click next, and then he's eligible. These are two options. This is eligible, which basically it's saying that if he's not yet a privileged role administrator, but if he requests this, or if we allow him to have the role, we can basically accept it, and he will have the role for a certain amount of time that I will show you really quick. But inactive, we will have to active is basically giving already him the role without having him requesting it or us needing to accept that. So let's give him active for now, because I'm not gonna log into his account and ask for permissions for how can I say, for basically for him to request the role. So as you guys can see, assignment starts at this date at this time, so it's already and then it ends on 11/01. So he will basically have this role for 6 months, and then it will requires us to give a justification on why we're activating the role. So let's say for a project, right? But you guys will have many reasons to give them, but let's assign it. And then as you guys can see, it was already assigned, and then we can basically take a look at the role right here. And then as you guys can see, active assignments, we can see Marcus, and I will show you guys these other two tabs really quick. So what I want to show you guys now is basically the description. So here we are with the description of the role. As you guys can see, it's a brief description right here. Users with this role can manage role assignments in Microsoft Entra ID, as well as within Microsoft Entra Privilege Identity Management. In addition, this role allows management of all aspects of privilege identity management. This role is considered privileged because one or more of its permissions are privileged. So this is just a brief description of the role, of what basically is about, right? But the most important part is the role permissions. So as you guys can see, there's a lot of permissions, right? And you guys can read through it, and let's take a look at it. So read all properties of access reviews of applications, role assignments in Microsoft Entra. I'm not going to read all of them, but you guys can take a look, right? Create access reviews, right, for memberships, and I will do that in another part. But for now, I'm just going to show you guys how to assign roles and how to assign PIM, right? Create and manage administrative units, right? Delete access reviews for memberships. Manage all aspects of authorization policies. He can create role assignment groups, delete role assignment groups. So basically, the privileged role administrator can control everything inside and about roles. So that's pretty interesting. So let's go to role settings so I can show you really quick. So basically, these are the settings when the user is assigned the role. What are the settings when we assign a PIM, a privileged role administrator for a user? So the activation maximum duration, so the user can only use this role for 1 hour, right? We can edit. So as you guys can see, I can edit, right? I can put more hours, right? But I won't do that. I will just show you guys in this screen right here because it's easier for you guys to understand. On activation require MFA. So basically, when the user requires or requests or activates the role, he will basically have to do multi-factor authentication so he can activate the role for himself. So, or request the role. So that's another thing. That's another important thing that you guys have to keep in mind. Require justification on activation. So basically, when a user requests for the role for a certain amount of time, for a certain amount of reason, for a specific reason, right? He will basically give a justification on why he wants it and what he needs for it, right? For the person that's controlling, can see, okay, so this user needs this role for this and this and this. Okay, I will accept that. And then the person who's accepting, right, the privileged user who's accepting the role also needs to give a justification on why he's letting the user have this role for this specific amount of time and specific reason, right? And then require privilege to activate. So basically, the user will have to request, and then the other person that's controlling will have to approve the activation, right? So these are other settings that you guys can take a look at it really quick, or you guys can see it for yourselves, but these are the most important ones for now. But you guys can take a look at it. So another thing that I want to show you guys really quick is that you guys can also create a new custom role. Instead of just giving it a pre-built role for a user, you can also create a new custom role. So if you guys come here at roles and admins under intro, you guys can come here and add a new custom role, right? And then you can name the custom role whatever you want. Let's say I want to add a SOC, right? SOC analyst custom role, right? So we can do this. I will just skip the description, and you can either like start from scratch or clone from another custom role. Since we don't have another custom role, we won't be able to use it, but as you guys can see, no custom roles found, so it doesn't really matter. Oops, SOC analyst custom role, right? And then we can, now this is the most important part where you basically include permissions for the role, right? What the role can actually do. So let's give some permissions like read, right? So he can read all properties, blah 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 blah. Doesn't really matter, I'm not even reading it, but all aspects of, let's say, security, right? Something like that, right? Or we can do also sign in permissions, logs, right? Whatever the case is, read all properties on audit logs, right? Doesn't really matter, just for the show. And then we can just create the role, and then we can search the role, right? And as you guys can see, SOC analyst custom role, and then we can add assignments, and then we can assign any person. It's the same process that I just did with PIM, right? So let's just select a random user. I'm not gonna select the specific SOC analyst that I created, but it's just to demonstrate you guys how you guys can do it. So now you guys can go to settings, and it can actually be a permanent eligible role, or you can just activate, right? Or you can just permanently, whatever you guys want to do is the same thing, same settings that I did before with the PIM activation, which this is also a PIM activation. But so you guys can take an idea that you guys can also create custom roles. So let's go for the third part of the video. So it's day 3, and today we're going to assign apps to our Entra tenant. So we're basically assigning apps so that the contractors can use for them to work, right? So first things first, I got a list of apps that I'm adding to my portal, right, to my tenant, and adding those apps, I will basically use a automation script to assign each user with each role on their respective app that they will have to use for their job. So first of all, I got a list right here, so let me take a look at it. But first of all, we go to enterprise apps, right? And then as you guys can see, all the apps that I have currently on my Entra that I don't really use is just for the other labs that I tried before. And now we can add new applications, right? So I will pause this video real quick, but I really want to show you guys first how to add an app inside Entra. So as we can see, let me get a first app name. We can create our own app, which is not really a real app, but we can make it as an app, as a tenant-wide app. So as you guys can see, we click create your own app, and then we just basically create it, right? And then we add application to our tenant. So as you guys can see, we have the application ID and the object ID for it. And as you guys can see, let's go back to enterprise apps. It's right here. So I will be adding other apps that I will include for the contractors. So wait a minute, and then I'll be pausing really quick. And then another thing that I want to really show you guys really quick is when you go to your app page, right, your app overview, so you can take a look at the configurations and the users and the roles of the app. If you go here to properties, this is really important. These are really important settings. So as you guys can see, if you look at it, enabled for users to sign in, so users are enabled to sign into the app, right? Assignment required, right? You're gonna put yes. And this is really important too, visible to users, so which means that when a user logins to my apps, right, where they usually have their dashboard full of the apps that they have access to, this specific app that he was assigned to will be visible to him, or else he will have to get a link, right, to access the app. But make sure that this is yes, right? So when a user logs into their portal, to their My Apps portal, they will see the app assigned to them. So as you guys can see, I basically did a cleanup on my apps. So basically all the apps that I just created are shown, and the other ones that were created for past labs I deleted so I can make it look a little bit cleaner. But yeah, as you guys can see, these are all created apps. These are not like already integrated apps with Entra ID, which integrated apps is apps that you can already like assign from here, right? Let's say you want to integrate AWS, right, services, right, or Google Cloud Platform. You can do that. You can assign all these apps, right, that they're already legit, they're trusted by Microsoft, right? So I went ahead and did not do that. I basically just created my own apps with similar names, right, with familiar names, as you guys can see, like Microsoft Sentinel, right? Everybody knows what is it. It's a SIEM tool that usually SOC analysts uses to analyze, right? Compliance manager, that would be for GRC or even for IAM, right? Microsoft Defender for cloud, so we can think about cloud engineers, right? Cloud security engineers, right? And then all of these other apps that I created and included on my tenant, and now we're gonna run the script. So as you guys can see, we have the script right in front of me, and I will just give you guys a brief explanation of what's gonna happen. So as you guys can see, the configuration, right, for the tenant, domain, and the log path, and then the app assignment map, as you guys can see, for the IAM. For the IAM users, we have, My Apps, Entra ID governance, right? And then for the SOC, we will have obviously the Microsoft Defender and the Sentinel, the SIEM, right? GRC, obviously we're going to use Purview and Compliance Manager, right? Pen test, Microsoft Defender for endpoint, My Apps, cloud security. Now we'll go basically more into the Defender for cloud, right? And Defender for cloud apps. So things like that, right? Threat intelligence, so we're gonna see something like Microsoft Sentinel, and then let's keep going. So basically we'll connect to Microsoft Graph. As always, I will recommend you guys understand a little bit more about the scopes, right? The permissions. So we're going to do user read all, application read all, app role assignment read write all, and directory read all. So have a basic understanding of the scopes, right? So as you guys can see on the third one, cache service principles. So this is like basically before like the main loop starts. The script looks every unique app name in your Entra tenant and stores the results in a hashable called right here, as you guys can see. Where is it? SP cache. So yeah, and then for the cache user objects, right? We're gonna it's basically like the same caching pattern as the section 3, but it basically resolves all 20 users objects before the main loop, so the assignment loop never makes a user lookup call. So the results go right into the user cache. So basically we're gonna assign the users to the app. So as you guys can see, we're gonna store, right? And then I would highly recommend that you guys use AI to help you guys out with the scripts, and hopefully you guys can understand. Keep trying to read, ask AI to explain what's happening in the script, each line, so you guys can have an idea of what's actually happened. So yep. So guys, I got the script here that I really want to show you guys, that I will run in a second, but just let me take a look at it and literally just explain a little bit of what's actually happening right in the script. As you guys can see, the intro, right? It's a 7-day project, enterprise app, so we're basically assigning apps to the users, right? So obviously the first part is the configuration, right? My tenant ID, my domain, and the log path, right? So basically the logs will be transferred in a CSV file, and then I will show you guys that in a second after I run the script. But app assignments, as you guys can see, for the IAM, I have these specific apps, right? Entra ID governance, my apps, right? And then I have for the SOC, obviously we're gonna do Microsoft Sentinel as our SIM tool, and then Microsoft Defender, right, as our EDR. For GRC, obviously we're going to go with Purview, Compliance Manager, right? It's all about compliance, pen testing. I mean, we don't usually give a lot of apps for pen testers, right? Because their job is to try to break into the organization. But they obviously do a lot of documentation, right? So cloud security, we're talking about, right? Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, right? And then threat intel, all of these different type of apps that we're gonna assign to these users. So as you guys can see, connect to Microsoft Graph. Obviously, I always usually will recommend you guys understand a little bit more about the scopes, right, and the permissions that you can assign yourself in order to run Microsoft Graph in your PowerShell, right? So as you guys can see, in the third spot we have service principal cache, right? That's basically before like the main loop starts, the script looks at every unique app name in your Entra tenant, and then it stores the results in a hashable called, as you guys can see here, SP cache. So yeah, and then our fourth part is cache user objects, where basically is the same caching pattern as section 3, as the third option right there, but it basically resolves all 20 user objects before the main loop, so the assignment loop never makes a user lookup call. So that's basically it. And then assign users to apps, right? This part right here, so we basically assign the users to the apps. And then our summary, where basically our right hosts will come in and update us on what's actually happening. So let's run the script really quick. Let's see how it goes. Hopefully it goes smoothly. I was trying it before and then cleaning up, but the cleaning up was not effective at all, so I had to do it manually. And it's gonna basically run the script. It's logging into my Entra account from another screen right here that I have, so you guys won't even see it, but now the script is basically running. Let me put my face a little bit more in the right side so you guys can take a look. So it's looking up for the enterprise apps, and then it's finding it, right? And then it's finding all the users and starting to assign the apps. And then as you guys can see, basically as you guys can see, it did not run smoothly like it wanted to be because I already assigned the users to the app. So as you guys can see, entitlement grant already exists. So basically I removed the users, but it took a while for the Entra to process all the removing of the users from the apps. But either way, it basically assigned again the users. So as you guys can see in the summary tab, assigned 40 and then 20, and then none of them failed, none of them were skipped. So we can take a look at those apps right now and see if it actually worked. Let me move my little camera right here. Let's go to enterprise apps. Let's see our apps. So let's first take a look at the first one right here, and then let's go to users. As you guys can see, Carlos Fuentes, he was assigned, but let's go to a big one. Let's take a look at Microsoft Sentinel, and let's see the users that are inside Microsoft Sentinel. If it loads, let me try it one more time. Where is it? Yep, right here. Okay, load. Hopefully it loads again. So as you guys can see, and then if we go to the user really quick, and then we can see the properties to make sure that the user is actually like a SOC analyst or security operations lead. So she's a leader, right? The SOC leader. We can take a look at another random user. Let's take a look at it. Ingrid properties. She's a malware reverse engineering analyst. So basically everything ran correctly, and obviously I always suggest you guys take a look at the audit logs. Always make sure that you guys check the audit logs to see, because that's the basic IAM analyst job, is to look at logs and see what's actually happening. Like situations like this where a user is assigned an app, right, and you want to check if the user is eligible, was actually supposed to receive the app, right? We're supposed to be assigned to the app and supposed to have the privileges and the permissions inside the app. So this is where you take a better look at it, right? So as like I see, add app role assignment, and then we can take a look at the log really quick. So the user that was targeted, let me see, it was Alexi, and she was targeted, and then she was added to the Microsoft Defender for endpoint. So make sure you guys take a look at it. Understand the script didn't run that smoothly, but you guys got the idea, right? So I would suggest you guys work with AI a little bit, try to understand the script, mostly like actually try to understand what's actually happening, because as an engineer you will be having the job to understand the script and edit the script, right, and then make changes on the script. So you guys have to understand a little bit more about the script. I myself need to get better at it because, right, PowerShell, command, bash, whatever you guys are going to call it, Linux, it's always so intimidating. But if you guys get used to it, right, if you guys keep putting the work every day trying to understand a little bit more, you guys will always obviously get better at it, right? Because something It's pretty nice and smooth to use the admin center, right? To use the actual tenant, right? To move around here, but it's obviously really good to understand automation, because that helps a company a lot, and you'll be the reason why they make their automation, they make their workflows faster. So take that in mind. Hopefully you guys understand this part, and then yeah, let's go to the next one. So another crucial part that I really want to show you guys is a lab that you guys can do. Obviously all the labs that I'm doing right now you guys can do, but another important part that I really want to show you guys is access review. So basically, access reviews I will do for groups first. So basically, access review for groups in Microsoft Entra is basically designed to efficiently manage the access life cycle, making sure that the appropriate users retain access to resources, right? Basically the purpose is to basically enhance security by regularly auditing group memberships, removing guest user risks, and maintaining compliance. So let's create a new access review specifically for cybersecurity contractors. That's the name of the group. So we have two options right here: review access to a resource type, customize an access review of assignments to a resource type such as groups, teams, applications, access package. Review user across multiple type with a catalog. So this is basically creating a catalog. I don't want to do that. I'll explain that later. But let's select just an access review for teams plus groups, and then we'll press select teams plus groups, and then we'll select the group that we want to do an access review. So this is an option that you guys will see: inactive users only. Not necessarily, because all of them are inactive, so it doesn't really matter, but we have the scope right here. As you guys can see, it's either guest users only or all users, so I'm just going to do all users from the group. And then we can do reviews, right? So multi-stage review is basically you do various type of reviews in certain periods of times, right? It's not only one access review. You just do one stage and then after the other stage. But this time we're just gonna do one access review for the video. So specify reviewers. So basically we're gonna select the reviewer that will review the access, right? So let's just select myself as the reviewer. Let me see if I can find my name. It's right here. Select us as our reviewer. Usually when a group has an owner, it's usually the group owner who does the review, so keep that in mind, but I will assign myself as the reviewer for the group. Duration in days, so how long you want this access review to take, right? 6 or whatever. We're just gonna do one day. And then the recurrence of the access review, we'll just do, you can do it like annually or semi-annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly. And if you choose, you basically select the start date, but it's just going to be a one-time thing. So we're just going to start today, as you guys can see. But you guys can choose whatever you guys want. But for the sake of the video and the lab, I'm just going to do 1 day. So auto-apply results to the resource. This is basically if the user's access is denied, their access to the resource will be removed after the review is completed. So pretty interesting. If reviews don't respond, so basically if the reviewers don't respond, we have these options, right? Either we remove access or approve access or take recommendations, right? So Microsoft has its own recommendations to so Microsoft basically analyzes the user, see what permissions he has, how active he is, and then take recommendations from there, and then send you what you should do. But let's say we want to remove access, right, for least privilege, right, for zero trust. So at the end of review, send notification to. We can do it ourselves, and basically it will send us an email showing that the review was completed. So enable reviewer decisions helpers, no sign in within 30 days. These are all the options. Basically, if enable system provides recommendations to reviews based on enable criteria, user to group and affiliation. I'm not going to really touch on these configurations because I don't think it's necessary, but you guys can take a look at it. I'm not really familiar with it, but I know other ones like this one, justification required, right? So there has to be a justification on why you're denying or accepting the review, right? The user. Email notification, so basically it will send an email notification to me, reminders, whatever. It's just basically notifications that this happened, or you need to still accept, deny some requests, some accesses. So basically that. And then additional content for reviewer in email. Not necessarily going to do that, but you guys can obviously create yourselves whatever you guys want. So review name, let's do cybersecurity, contractors, access review. And then description, not necessarily, I'm not going to do anything. Let's just create the access review, and then as you guys can see, the access review is right here. So we have not reviewed anything yet, and then we have approved, denied, and don't know. So these are the three options, and I will take you guys in a second to see how you guys accept, approve, or deny. So yeah, and then we can see the results, right? Not reviewed. We have the option to deny here, but there's another better option that I will show you guys really quick. And then the reviewers, it's me, right? And then settings, these were basically, we already did this, so not necessarily you're gonna have to do this because we already did it. So let's open a private window really quick, and then let's log into my apps. Okay, so I guess we did it. We're here in my apps, so let's go to my access over here, right? And then we can go to approvals, and then let it load for a second. And then, as you guys can see, there's pending, history. Let me see others, access reviews for this one. Yep, I'm sorry, it's this part right here. So as you guys can see, now I can approve or deny access the assignments. So let's approve this guy, right? And then it will ask us for a reason, just to lab, whatever. Nothing crazy. It will approve continued access. And then let's keep going. So this one was already approved. Let's do these other users. Let's approve all of these users right here. Oops. Oh, it has a limit. I think there's a limit. Has a limit? I don't think so, guys. Oh, didn't even know about this. So let's just basically do all of these, and then just lab. And then for the other ones, let's say for Sophia, let's deny. Why not? Deny. And then we can do Tania, we can do accept recommendations. And let's see what's happening. And as you guys can see, it recommended to deny. We can obviously change it right here. We can put in I don't know, say don't know. So as you guys can see, we can do this, and basically that's pretty much it. How do you manage your access review? So the reason why I was able to do this, because as you guys saw earlier, I assigned myself as the approver. So that's for you guys to take in mind. Let's see if the access review was updated. So if you guys don't know, it's over here in ID governance, and then you guys click on access reviews, and then we can go to our part right here, and then as you guys can see, 20 users, 18 of them was approved, 1 was denied, and 1 was don't know. So that's pretty much it about access review. I think that basically it would load more eventually, because it takes a little bit of time to pull up all of the approval decisions. But yeah, that's basically it about access review. I forgot to mention, how do we actually review somebody, right? We usually, it doesn't pop up a page of seeing all the criteria of whether we should deny or approve. We basically have to go to the user, and as you guys can see, we can check it out here, and then let's say we'll check for Alexi, and then let's see details, right? And then we'll see basically some of the stuff about this user, right? Approved by Felipe, last signing in more than 30 days. We basically didn't sign into this account, but what we usually do is we go to the user's account, and basically we'll go to the user account. So I forgot to mention to you guys really quick that, what are you actually reviewing, right? What are we actually reviewing the thing, right? So what are we looking at this person, and why are we denying or accepting it or approving it, right? So basically, you'll basically go to a user's profile, right? And then let's take a look at, for example, Alexi, and see what's going on with him. So let's press Alexi, right? We'll just do a basic review about the user, see what's happening, right? And usually what we want to do is see what type of role does this user have, and for how long, right? So we can see that he's just a security reader, he's just probably a SOC analyst, but we can also see like what permissions he has, right? Because he has this active role, and see his audit logs, right? His sign-ins, right? To see if there is probably a brute force attempt with his account. There will be no sign-ins because I've never signed in with the user, but so you guys can take an idea and have an idea and see what's actually happening. So no sign-ins, audit logs. Does this user had any changes to his profile, to his access, to his permissions, right? Is he overprivileged? Does he actually need these apps? Does he actually need these things, right? So we basically checked everything about the user and make sure that he has what he needs in the right time. So that's basically it on the access review part. So now I really want to show you guys another type of access review that you guys can create. And if you go right here to the same spot that I did before, click new access review, and then you can select the same one. And then instead of reviewing teams or groups, we can choose applications, and then when we come here to select applications, we can select all the apps that we want to do an access review. So let's choose random apps. Let's do these 3-1. Yep, that's good. And then obviously we can do guest users only or all users, but we're gonna do all users. And then we can come back here, and then it's basically the same process, right? Multi-stage. I already explained that before. Select the reviewers. It's whatever. Pick myself, right? See if it pops up. And then we can hit select. Duration 3 days, or either one, or let's just do one. And then the recurrence, same thing. Start day today. And then we can go to settings, auto apply results to resource. That's basically, as you guys can see, if the user's access is denied, their access to the resource will be removed after the review is completed. So basically, if the user is denied on the access review, the user will be removed from the app, right? So we can check this out, right? Whatever. But if reviewers don't respond, we have the option to either remove access or approve access. But let's choose remove access, why not? And then at the end of review, send a notification to. Let's click myself really quick. I forgot to check my email and then show it to you guys, the last review that we did. But it basically sends like the review that I did on the email, basically showing the results. And you can either just include yourself or other administrators that want to take a look at it and see what you did, right? But since it's basically just a lab, we're just gonna sign into ourselves. So these other options, they're basically the same thing. Justification required, email notifications, reminders, sign in within 30 days. Enable reviewer decision helpers. So if enable, system provides recommendations to reviews based on enabled criteria, such as sign in or user to group affiliation. So that's basically if the user didn't sign in within 30 days, basically probably it will take the recommendation where it basically deletes the user, it denies the user from using the app. So we can just do app review, right? Just a quick review name, and then we can hit create, right? And then we can pop up to our private window. Oops. Yep. And then we can just go to my apps, and then I can just log into my account. So hopefully this video was a bit helpful. Sorry for the audio cutoff on the last clips of the video, which basically I just did access review for the apps for each app, and then I accepted and denied on each app for the users that were assigned to it, but nothing crazy. And then I checked my emails to show you guys a little bit how it works when you send the approver an email of the results, and then you check the results, and then you click on it, and then it takes you directly to the Azure page and shows you the results of the access review. And then plus the offboarding of users, right? Once the users finalize their contract, they are already done with the company, they're not working anymore, we can basically offboard these users, right? Remove accesses, remove roles, remove app assignments, disable the users, right? Revoke sessions, and then finally remove the user accounts from the Entra tenant. So that was pretty much it. Hopefully you guys can learn a little bit, or hopefully you guys follow through it and then try yourselves, because I believe that trying and actually touching the tool will actually make you understand a little bit better. And then once you keep repeating the same labs, you eventually be good at it. And then I suggest that you guys be good enough so you guys can explain what's actually happening, and obviously you want to show off to the interview that you guys know how to use the tools. And yeah, like I said, I am personally not in IAM yet. This is my goal, but lately I've been doing a lot of these little labs inside Entra, and now I'm getting a little bit familiar with Okta, you know, specifically getting their certifications. So that's what I'm going towards, right? Towards the IAM path. And hopefully this video could be a little bit helpful so you guys can create your own projects and do your own labs, and be better at the tool that I believe that majority of the companies use these days for IAM, right? For identity and access management, which is Entra. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys very much for the if you guys follow through this video. I know it's 1 hour and 20 minutes of video, so hopefully this was helpful. See you guys on later videos. Bye bye.